Welcome, this is your 5-minute geography lesson. We're covering Theme 6, Element 10, UK Regional Inequality. Please hand out the exercise books. I'm Mr S and I'll be your 5-minute teacher. It has long been recognised that there is a north-south divide in the UK. So today we're looking at something a little closer to home. So let's have a look at the map on the right hand side of the screen. So the north-south divide is the idea that in the south it is generally a more productive, wealthier, better health, better education area of the UK. And the north tends to have the opposite. And if you look at the map, the north and south divide is being drawn in for us, and it goes from around Gloucester to south of Hull. So it's not an even split in terms of half the country. And in fact, there is more of the country in the north than there is in the south. So there's a smaller percentage of the UK which is being perceived as being richer, and a larger proportion in the north that is perceived as being poor. Now, there are three main factors that have influenced this divide. And we're going to start with the one that is causing a lot of issue in terms of devolution or independence, and that is the political nature of our country. The government is housed in London, which is our capital city. So all the decision making for our country is made there. And a lot of people believe that actually what goes on in London is for the benefit of the south or the Greater London area. And those decisions perhaps don't apply to Wales, don't apply to Northern Ireland, to Scotland or the north of England. But also there is a lot of prestige in having a building in London. It is a capital city. It is one of the largest cities in terms of financial movement. So nearly all money in the Northern Hemisphere would move through London, through the stock exchange. So a lot of headquarters for MNCs are housed in London as well. So there's a greater amount of wealth available in London because everything seems to be centred there because of the prestige, because it's a world city and it's interconnected with the rest of the world. So many headquarters are located in the southeast of England, making it the crucial decision-making centre for the UK and perhaps even for the larger proportion of the Western world. So even though the government policies try to encourage investment in other parts of the UK, it's still more convenient for some businesses to start up near the centre of London because that's where all that decision making, that's where the greatest transport links are. You've got Heathrow, you've got the Eurostar, and you've also got the ferry networks as well, and big trading ports like Folkestone, all in the south. And then there's a social aspect as well. So we've got 20 million people of the UK's population living in 1 hour commute of London. So that's a large proportion of a working population that all paying tax, all living very close to London. And so many businesses prepare to locate themselves where there's the largest proportion of the workforce. Many universities are in the south as well. Oxford and Cambridge, all are employers, but are also producing highly skilled, highly educated employees as well, which businesses want to take advantage of. And then we've got the economic aspect. So largest market is available in London in terms of the stock exchange, but it also includes better access to a larger market, which is the European Union, from this area. We've got Dover, we've got Portsmouth, as well as Folkestone, and all of those international connections are easily accessible from the wider London area. So it makes more sense for businesses to ensure that they're set up there. Now there are other more complex issues at work as well. So for example, the northeast of England was highly specialised in shipbuilding and mining. When it became cheaper to build ships abroad, mainly in China, then that business was removed. When the coal dried up in the northeast as well, another industry was lost. So the northeast of England suffered from what's called deindustrialization. So they've actually lost the ability to do what they were specialised in that sense. And a lot of the north of England suffered from that as well, whereas the south was a little more diversified in things like finance. Again, we can look at the consequences for this as well. So despite the fact that we do live in a HIC, there are varying levels of development across the UK as well. So our health in the north of England is actually a lot poorer than in the south. On average, somebody living in the northeast lives between 8 and 10 years less than somebody living in the south. Housing prices are higher in the south. Now that works both ways. It's better for the south because it means that if you can get on the property market, your property is worth a lot more in the future, which means you've got more money in assets in the future. But it also makes it harder to get a house. Whereas in the north of England, it's a lot easier to purchase a property because it costs less. But it also means that you're not going to get as much gain in assets over the time as well, because your property is not going to appreciate in value as much. Your income in the north tends to be lower than it is in the south. And there is migration, which is also called the brain drain, of young professionals. So highly educated people from the north moving to the south in search of better job prospects. So it leaves the north in a worse position in terms of finding well educated and well trained or well skilled employees. Well, that brings our lesson to an end, but continue at your own pace by completing the Now Try It tasks for homework. Class dismissed.